You are about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating talk radio. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
Doctor, tell me true. What's a heart like mine supposed to do?
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. All right, so we got preseason NFL going on. Now we got college football about to start, which I am really, really excited about. My younger son got me really, really into college football. I just didn't have the time. He's watching me watch. He's, seen me kind of upset. The football season, was, I could only watch football Mondays and Thursdays and Sundays. And he's like, Mom, you really should be watching college football. I go, but I don't have time on Saturdays. I'm always busy on Saturdays. We're always out. He's like, you got to watch. You got to, I love college football. That's why I'm a huge Fernando Mendoza fan and just really, really cool. I love college football. But I am a little intrigued by some of the changes that are going on. And when I heard that an NFL player wanted to go back to LSU, DeQuan Wright, and I heard, well, he didn't get drafted. He's, a free agent. I think he's with the Eagles now, is it? No, or the Browns. I think he suited up this Saturday. With the Cleveland Browns for their preseason game. I believe he's wavered. He's actually wanting to go back to LSU. He wants to return to the SEC. And this would be within that 5-year rule. And I know the rules can get a little confusing, but in essence, if he had more opportunity to be with the NCAA, right, or the SEC, or whoever is college football, let's say, he has an opportunity to go pro. He doesn't necessarily get the position he needs. He's going to be benched, let's say, for most of it. Well, why not? So when I heard this, I'm like, he might as well play. He's a star. When it comes to college football, might as well play. So, let him go back if he wants to. On the other end, one thing that has really been bothering me about school sports and about the Olympics is I always thought that if you were, let's say, Bishop Gorman football, you were Bishop Gorman born and raised, that these football players, because I saw this when I was, my kids were in Bishop Gorman. I thought if you're Bishop Gorman football or Liberty football or whatever, you are, you went to grade school, now you're in that high school as a freshman and then a sophomore, and whoa, you got talent. Will you represent our school? I didn't know if there was drafting and, we'll help you with your tuition or whatever happens for some of these high schools to get players. Well, same thing with college. College football, I think it's early attractions, although it's not its main attraction now. It's a real money-making business. I mean, we want football stars now. But to me, one of the endearing parts of it was, hey, you and your calculus class, you got a good arm. Okay? You over here in architecture, you could run. Let me see what you guys can do on the team. And here, your school is like, look, we got good athletes. If you look at our academic, if you look at who's in our classrooms, but that's not the way it is. It's not that we are pulling up and finding diamonds in the rough in these academic institutions. What we're doing is we need you to play for us. So let's talk to your mama. Let's talk to your dad. Let's get you to move to our neck of the woods, put you on the team, and then just take some classes. And college football, it's a huge business, and I see why. I do. I mean, I look at these stadiums, tens of thousands. I think one stadium had over 100,000. I forget which, was it the Texas A&M game? And I told my husband, I go, you need to watch this. I mean, because I grew up with UNLV football, and they were very overshadowed by the Runnin' Rebels with basketball. And so everything was all about basketball. And I went to as many games as I could, home games. I didn't go to a lot of Rebel football games. I went to some. So we never, I didn't go to necessarily a school that had this kind of, UCLA and the Bruins, but I didn't have time to go to their games. This is it's a religion, college football. And so when you look at it as, okay, we're not going to be looking at these school sports as you're homegrown. You are, Texan to the end. You are Louisiana to the end. We are transplanting you from Oregon, to play for us. You are now we need you to play some damn good football, and get people in the stands. It's a business. And so in that case, if you have an NFL player that's not doing anything and they want to come back and they can actually make more money as a college player, should they have a right to do that? 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. I want to hear from you guys. I watch the Olympics, and it always kind of, confuses me how, when the whole purpose of the Olympics was, we are having people born and raised in China compete with people born and raised in America, compete with people born and raised in Ethiopia. And this is what the country can do. And we are blown away by the pride in their country, the pride of the people there. But instead, like we saw with the World Cup, people are being moved, and you're not seeing Norway versus Spain. You're seeing people that made their team. And I kind of, miss the, these are authentic Norwegians. These are authentic Spaniards. These are authentic. But because, look, you could get a good player and they're from another country and they want to identify and they want to become a citizen of it. Because I think with the Olympics, you still have to become a citizen. You still have to, no, because don't we have an American that plays for China? But she's an American citizen, but she identifies because of her mom as Chinese. So I don't know. I mean, for me, I really like the homegrown. This is if you're representing this school, if you're representing, it's because this is it. But unfortunately, people are being transferred in, moved in, might not even be on campus, and they're representing that college or that school. That does bother me a little bit. But as far as I'm concerned, if an NFL player wants to go back and play, as long as he's not going to hurt anybody else, tackling them because now they're big, I don't think I have a problem with it. 1-877-DOC-DALI, don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years, stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So this back and forth of men or boys being able to play in women's sports if they identify as a female has been going back and forth. And people are saying, how do we solve this? What do we do? Just say no. Just say yes. We're for transgender rights. We're not for transgender rights. And the back and forth has been kind of ridiculous. Well, two former basketball players actually very brilliantly could solve this issue. And what they did was Inez Cantor Freedom and Royce White say, look, we want to play for the WNBA. We identify now as women. So we want to play for the WNBA. The WNBA is now so pro transgender rights and biological men. And you could, by the way, support transgender individuals in so many different ways. But in terms of them playing on a female sport, that's a whole different discussion. But if the WNBA supports biological males playing in women's sports, then thank you. We want to play. And all of a sudden, the country gets quiet. And they're like, okay, this is going to come to a solution soon. Because the WNBA now has never really had a transgender biological male play against their females. And so here we are now. If they're in so much support, we get to actually see what that does. Can these women still take on the men? Or are these men so much more physically advantaged that it's not going to work? And they want to be a part of the draft. So the WNBA now, has to put their money where their mouth is. So the WNBA gets quiet. And this kind of went on for about a couple weeks. And we're like, well, the WNBA now has to poop or get off the pot. If they're really pro transgender rights and biological men playing with females, they have to let these guys in. They identify as a female. Or are they going to say, our bad. We got to protect our women because they could get hurt. What are they going to do? Well, after weeks of deliberation, what did the WNBA say? Friedman and White are not eligible for the draft because this is a stunt, a publicity stunt. And that is what they came up with. And so now the rest of us are like, okay, come on. We've got to be able to really, does somebody take a stand and get this figured out? So now the WNBA is probably thinking they evaded controversy. They said, well, this is what we do. So we don't have men trying to get into our women's draft, but we still look pro because we still got to go with the woke. We're good. These two are doing a publicity stunt. Well, then the next move would be, and again, I don't want publicity stunts, but we do need to kind of clarify what exactly are we doing here. The next move would be somebody who, obviously the WNBA are now medical professionals, right? Identifying who is truly transgender and who's doing a publicity stunt. Which means, are they now going to define what makes somebody a truly transgender individual? So the next move would be somebody identifying, saying, they didn't back down on biological men. And the WNBA is starting to pay some bucks. The WNBA is starting to sell tickets. Well, there's a lot of headlines. I'm not making it on the men's team. I identify as a female, so I am going to now. They're going to have to deal with what are they going to do. Now, they might want to make it a big, it will help their publicity. Remember, the women's basketball has been really struggling until recently, because you got Caitlin Clark, you got Sophie Cunningham, you got Cloud, you got all these individuals now that are making news on the court, and there's a lot of drama. I got to tell you, these women can play. And so people are starting to now watch. We have the Las Vegas Aces, right? Our inaugural team makes a championship. I'm seeing men watch women's basketball. It's a big change. And I want to see the WNBA be successful. But now that you have men, now that are like, okay, well, let's test the waters. I could be a WNBA player. Let me join the draft. Apparently, WNBA said no. These are publicity stunts designed to mock the league, sow division, and draw attention to the topic by demeaning others. Now, they said they weren't, they say, look, I identify as a girl now. I identify as a girl. In his case, Freedom starts going to the games. He wants to be a female WNBA player. Now, the WNBA needs to be smart. You cannot be having biological men play. But what are they going to do in terms of their mantra, their narrative? And they kicked the can down the road on this one. Okay, they've been able to stall. But what happens? Now, this is my prediction. They know that some chaos is coming. And you're going to have, 6'5", 270-pound male, identifying as female, want to get drafted. And they are going to just, obviously just blow everybody out of the water in terms of stats. What I believe the WNBA may do is recruit somebody who is, shall we say, more delicate. They want to show that they are pro transgender rights. And so my suspicion is before the big dudes come, like the Leah Thomases, who went from men's swim team to female swim team. Before any of these big dudes come, as the WNBA is getting very, very lucrative. Look, you're not playing. You don't feel like you could do anything else. You can make some money. I think there's a lot of people who say, you know what? I identify as female. You don't have to shave your legs anymore to be a female. You don't have to shave your upper lip. You can still have facial hair being female. So we don't have those definitions of transgender. But before somebody big like that, I believe the WNBA is going to be looking for somebody who will not be a physical threat. A more delicate male that is identifying as female, who the female players can definitely overpower and overplay. And they go, look, we have our first transgender player in the WNBA, and look how good we're doing. But still, you're going to run into the issue of men wanting to play. Now, maybe things are going to start to sizzle down because the average guy, doesn't want to hurt any women. They know that they're going to have to back off. They're going to have to, they're not going to be able to, people want to compete. They want to be able to do what they need to do. And we've seen what happens in high schools when biological males forget to check themselves. They're hurting these women. Look at that girl that got knocked unconscious by a volleyball. And this is why in school, boys are not allowed to hit girls. Girls shouldn't be hitting boys, but girls seem to get off more than boys. Because if a boy hits a girl, his strength is overpowering. I mean, we know this in grade school. What, we don't know this in high school and college and professional sports? So that's my guess. My guess is they're going to come up with somebody who is a much more petite biological male that identifies as female, get them on the team to show that they're putting their money where their mouth is, and then figure out how they deal with the big guys that want to come on the team. But the issue is not getting solved. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
What are you feeding your kids? Are you feeding your kids crap? You might be, and you might want to rethink that. Welcome back to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Apparently, eating less of this one common ingredient early in life may slash cancer risk decades later. What is that ingredient? It's sugar. Did I give my kids sugar? Oh, yeah. I had to shut them up. I want juice. Mommy, I want juice. Here's your juice. Chocolate milk. Give me chocolate milk, Mommy. Fine, here's chocolate milk. Did you eat your vegetables? Nope. Eat your vegetables if you want the chocolate milk. Leave the vegetables. I mean, yeah, I listen, I was a working mom. I was busy. They want chocolate milk. I'll give them chocolate milk. Especially, it's really hard to say no when I'm drinking chocolate milk. Okay. Unfortunately, we have really gone the other way with sugar. And I hear parents go, Dr. Dahlia, I do not add any sugar to my kids' foods. We don't have salt and pepper shakers on the table. We don't have a sugar dish. I go, that's great, but what do they eat for breakfast? They had some cereal. And, well, that has the sugar in it. Okay? I've never added sugar. I don't think I've added a spoonful of sugar to anything. Remember Mary Poppins? A spoonful of sugar, kick some medicine, go down. I'm blown away that's what they did. They would add sugar to the medicine. Now, a lot of our medicine is already syrupy and sugary. So the sugar's added. But they say limiting sugar consumption during the first 1,000 days of life from conception through a child's second birthday may result in slower biological aging and a lower risk of cancer up to 5 decades later. I know some of you are like, whoa, conception. So when my wife's pregnant, she can't be consuming sugar? Not a lot of it. Did I? Oh, hell yeah. You're going to keep sugar away from a pregnant woman? But I got to be honest. I didn't really buy a lot. I didn't eat ice cream. I didn't eat candy bars. I didn't really. My sugar intake was probably a lot lower, especially since you're not drinking when you're pregnant. Did I have a soda pop? Probably. So, got to look at that stuff. But where did they come up with this? Everybody always says sugar's bad, sugar's bad. Where did they come up with this? Well, it's interesting. They looked at the UK Biobank from data of 64,000 people born between 1951 and 1956. This is a study published in the Proceedings of the National Academies of Sciences investigating how early life sugar intake influences health in adulthood. The researchers leveraged a natural experiment from post-war Britain when sugar rationing ended in September 1953. After rationing ended, average daily sugar consumption across the UK nearly doubled, from about 41 grams to 80 grams, while the consumption of major foods remained the same. Now that's an interesting study. If they have your constant as regular types of food and your variable, well, now sugar isn't rationed and people consume more sugar, you could get some pretty interesting data from something like that. They said people exposed to sugar rationing during their first 1,000 days of life were compared to those who were conceived after the policy ended. Researchers then examined cancer outcomes recorded about 5 decades later. They found that people who spent more of their early lives eating under sugar rationing had lower rates of several cancers in adulthood, including liver, rectal, lung, prostate, and breast cancer. People exposed to early sugar limits also had longer leukocyte telomeres. I know, you definitely want nice leukocyte telomeres, I'm telling you right now. And maybe for Christmas, put it on your Christmas list. Your telomeres, kind of like your shoelace plastic binding, it's protective caps on chromosomes that tend to shorten with age, equivalent to about 2 fewer years of biological aging. Apparently, these British people also had lower levels. They don't like to be called Brits. I've been in Great Britain. They don't want to be called Brits. Okay, they like to be called British people. I believe or Britners, Great Britaners. Yeah. They also had lower levels of granzyme B, a protein associated with long-term immune activation and inflammation. The study authors, according to Fox News, identified 2 key pathways that could explain these long-term benefits: the biological imprint and the persistent behavioral habit. 5 decades after rationing ended, adults who spent their earliest days under sugar restrictions were actually consuming less sugar. They were more likely to be eating healthier, more varied diets. Experts say the findings add to ongoing research to how early diet may influence long-term health. They say according to a study author Wei Long Zhang, what surprised me most was how persistent the effects were. She's from the University of Cambridge. She said, we might expect childhood diet to matter for health, but differences in sugar exposure during the first 1,000 days were still reflected in people's diets and biological markers roughly 5 decades later. This suggests that early life may be an especially important period, not only for biological development, but also for establishing long-lasting food preferences. Well, of course, you give kids sugar, their dopamine spikes. Their eyes get all googly-eyed and they're like, oh, I want more. So I did limit it. I mean, we did do the juices. I didn't dilute the juice. It wasn't recommended at the time. Now we dilute juice half strength if kids want juice. But usually they got milk. I breastfed as long as I could, which was just, weeks because of work. I mean, I went back 3 days. I went back to work 3 days after my second child. So, breastfeeding was difficult, but at least I got at least 6 weeks in with both kids. But, they had bottle formula. They had later milk, water. We didn't do Tang. I grew up on Tang. We didn't do Kool-Aid. We didn't. But, I let them have sugar. And of course, that's what kids want. That's what they're around. And where they got their sugar was the cereals, the Lucky Charms, the Cocoa Krispies. That was my mistake. I used to cook them eggs for breakfast. And that was actually when people were looking at eggs and cholesterol saying, oh, that's bad. But I would give them eggs. I would call them mommy eggs because I would blow a kiss on them. And then my son liked ketchup, so I would take the ketchup and make a smiley face on his mommy eggs. And so I remember making him breakfast like that. But I think with the other one, it was just whatever. Eat whatever and then get your ass to daycare. And so I worry about that. Luckily, they are limiting their sugar intake. They're being very, very smart. They're exercising a lot. I taught them well. But, it's a concern. You got your insulin resistance, chronic inflammation. and cancer like sugar. But I like how they did this study. Because, I mean, you could tell two people, look, I'm going to study both of you. You don't eat sugar, you do. And then you're like, is that person cheating? Is that you can't really get around a government ration. Now, somebody could argue 1940s, being born in your 40s versus being born in the 50s. Did you have more exposures that could have caused cancer? That would be the study limitation. So if sugar was rationed from the 30s all the way to the 50s, and somebody born in that era is now 10 years older than the 1953 test subject, and the person who was born in 1953 probably had more access to fast food, right? Because they're 10 years younger. So then, there's more of an argument that but on the other end, pretty interesting to see people who were born in the baby boomer age to live that long. I've seen a lot of people in their 80s, 90s. Probably it could have been because of good childhood nutrition. Even though a lot of people were poor and didn't get the nutrition they needed, it was still probably better than what we're feeding our kids now. A lot to learn from that. 1-877 Doc Tully.
Here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877-DOCDALI. We're already starting to see Halloween and the decorations and things starting to get sold. And in fact, Disneyland, I think, is already putting up all the Halloween decorations. Halloween at Disneyland is very, very cool. My favorite is Christmas at Disneyland, but already I think they have decorations up from now until October 31st. I'm not doing a commercial for Disneyland. I just love Halloween. Halloween is so much fun. Pumpkin spice, I guess now. It's still hot. To me, it's still summer. It is summer until after Labor Day. But obviously, these companies want to make money during the holidays. Unfortunately, Target made a mistake. and they had to apologize and pull a children's Halloween costume that apparently was pretty offensive. The costume was marketed as Kids Glows Under Black Light Circus Clown Halloween costume. And it's a Halloween costume, bright orange, black top, solid black gloves, and a mask that has a wide, very toothy smile. The problem is in the ad, they had a black child wear it. And people found that extremely offensive, feeling that it resembled racist caricatures historically associated with blackface and minstrel performances. So here's Target probably thinking, we have to show we're diverse. So we aren't just going to have white models. We're going to also have black models. The problem is you put a black model in a costume that you're trying to look like you're being, Target keeps making misses. And Target had to publicly say, as a company, we know we got this wrong and we are deeply sorry. The costume is offensive and should never have been part of our assortment. It is no longer available for sale. We know this is especially hurtful for our black guests, team members, and partners. Removing the costume is an important first step, and the company is looking closely at how this happened and what needs to change to ensure that this won't happen again. Say the popular retailer is also facing a lot of backlash now. People want to boycott them. I mean, it was, I was shocked when I saw that too. I was like, come on, really? You don't see what's wrong with this costume? And you know, but the one thing I have identified, because I have a PR and marketing background, is how these companies trying to be more woke and inclusive are actually almost insulting the same people they're trying to help. So, you know, you want to diversify your models, make sure you're not, you know, one, don't have a stupid costume such as that, but look at what you're doing. And another thing that I'm seeing a lot of backlash that a lot of companies are doing is, you know, with casting, there, you know, you would have, you know, white couples, you'd have black couples, and for a period of time, they're like, we want to diversify and show interracial couples. And a lot of commercials in the last year or two have been predominantly where every couple is interracial. Black, white, Latino, white, which is I like interracial couples. They're great. We have friends and family who are. But the company is thinking they're doing that to show that they are supporting and being diverse. Meanwhile, I'm seeing backlash go, so wait, you could only, every couple has to include a white person now? You can't just be both black. You can't just be both Latino. These commercials, it's all about putting, you know, every time there's a couple or family member, they got to have somebody white in that family. So you see how it turns. You think you're trying to be diverse, and instead it could be looking like you're being the opposite. Can't just have a Latino family in the commercial. Can't just have a black family. It has to be. Yeah, so the one thing that I've learned, and this is why in medicine, okay, you cannot be all up in this whole, you know, woke thing, and you have got to use common sense and just have proper good standards and ethics. You know, when in medicine, they're like, they were, okay, well, we're going to, you know, save money. We want to not do harm. All right, everybody wait and start, you know, and you know, start getting your prostate checks later, and maybe we aren't going to make, you know, mandatory recommendations or requirements. Talk to your doctor. Colonoscopies, wait till you're 50. They're like, we're just going to universally do this, so we look like we're being safe. And I'm like, guys, the black population needs more surveillance and sooner surveillance. I would not be waiting till age 50 for a colonoscopy. in all populations. And with my patients, I learned early on, because in training I took care of so many black men and women who had breast cancer younger, colon cancer younger than white individuals, diabetes younger in the Latino and black population than white individuals. We're going to offer screening sooner. Now, somebody could say, oh, but you're discriminating. I offer screening to everybody. But I'm going to probably remind, non-Caucasian families as well that their risk could be higher and let them have access to the testing. So you're thinking you're being all safe, saying, all right, everybody wait till you're 50. Look at this. We're being all safe. No, you're could be actually hurting the demographic that you think you're protecting. So I don't know. When I watch these mistakes happen, it's just like with we're pro women, we're pro transgender women, we're pro this. We want we are against the white man. And we are, but now you have women, girls going, but wait a second here, we're doing our sports, okay? We finally got to a place where we have women's sports, and now you want to put men in our sport? Okay, now what that means is we can't win if we're not biologically male. When do we get to be in our sport and win? If now you're letting men come in. Yeah, at some point, you end up ticking somebody off. At some point, you step on somebody's toes. You really think during the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, you having a very non-gray, black, white sort of, happy holidays is going to not offend somebody? Don't you understand what Christmas means? Don't you understand what Hanukkah means? Hanukkah isn't just about presents. It's about the Jews overcoming some horrific Syrian oppression and being the minority they were able to overcome with God's miracle. If we want to have Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas, let us. But say, no, we're not going to be using that. It's just going to be Happy Holidays. You're actually offending the people you're thinking you're not offending. So just take a step back. All right. Use some common sense. This cancel culture calmed down a little bit. Luckily, during this latest Trump administration, I think people got so tired of it during what happened over the last few years that I think many people are like, no, you're not going to be canceling me for this. But just don't be stupid, right? Especially with Halloween costumes. Come on, man. 1-877-Doc-Dolly.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.